All right, good evening. Again, my name is Danelle Chinick with the Office of Economic Development and International Trade with the state of Colorado. And I'm going to talk a little bit about employee ownership. So what is employee ownership? It is a business model where employees profit from the company's success. It can take on many forms, ranging from simple grants of shares to highly structured plans. Some of those plans are profit sharing, phantom stocks, cooperatives, employee ownership trusts, and employee stock ownership plans. The benefits of employee ownership: it's high quality of life, guaranteed succession plan, like we were talking about, more engaged workforce. You can attract and retain top talent. Employees want to stay because they have an investment into the company. Economic resiliency, and a business owner can preserve their legacy, and potential tax incentives, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So some of our employee ownership office programming that we have, no cost consulting. So tonight I'm filling in for our program manager for the employee ownership office. He wasn't able to be here this evening, but he is available for no cost consulting and will meet with individuals who are interested in potentially looking into employee ownership as a means for succession planning. We also have a service provider referral network, and this is a list of service providers such as CPAs, development organizations, and attorneys that will help you along through that process. We also have a peer network group for employee-owned companies, so those are business owners who already have transitioned their company into employee ownership. And there's three types. There's an ESOP executive peer network, an ESOP communications peer network, and a worker cooperative peer network. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the grant program, and this is where I'm going to need to get my notes so you get all that information. So this grant program is available to small businesses who are headquartered in Colorado, and they're interested in offering an employee ownership stake in their company. So that stake needs to be at least 20% to the employees. And the grant is available and will reimburse $3,000 of the fees paid for professional services to transition the business. That is for certain structures, and the open and close windows started on January 9th, and the closing date of that is May 12th. Businesses will have to convert by Friday, June 16th to qualify for that grant. The second round of the grant opens July 17th, closes on Friday, November 3rd, and conversion completion is required by Friday, January 6th. So the conversion doesn't happen before you apply for the grant. You apply for the grant, and then the company goes through the conversion process and then has to meet that deadline of conversion in order to qualify for the grant. I think you have to go back one more. Yeah. The tax credit is a little bit different. On January 1st, 2022, we opened with $10 million in tax credits available annually for 5 years for businesses that are going to convert. The tax credit covers up to 50% of qualified business conversion costs, and it's not to exceed $25,000 for worker-owned cooperatives, and then not to exceed $100,000 for employee stock ownership. And again, companies must convert that minimum 20% over to their employees in order to qualify. And then the Introduction to Employee Ownership course is something that we kind of created for individuals who are business owners who are considering, or even maybe employees who want to learn more. What does it mean to work for a business owner who is employee owned? We have an online course that individuals can go online. It's available every 7 days of the week, 24 hours a day. It's on demand, and learn more about what is employee ownership. What are those different options, conversion options for me? And then at the end of that course, you can request to meet with a specialist who's our program manager, who can answer specific questions that relate to your business. And if you need more information, get you connected with, again, a service provider that can support you through that process. And the very last part of that is we're going to launch an additional course in the fall that focuses on succession planning. So if you are considering, like, what is my next steps? How long do I want to own my business? I'm not sure how long. I don't know if I want to sell my business or give it to my employees. We are going to launch a course, just general information about what is succession planning. Why do I need to think about it? Why is it important? And also then we're going to activate that in conjunction with the Small Business Development Center Network, where you can work with a consultant who will meet with you to look at some information. How do I get evaluation of my business? How do I develop a plan? What's the best plan for me and for the future and for my legacy? And so it's an online, and then you meet one-on-one with a SBDC consultant. So we're going to be launching that in the fall, and all of that information is on our OEDIT website. You can put in the search toolbar, you can put in employee ownership, succession planning, and that information will pop up. Again, this is all free to you to utilize at any time. And so, as I had mentioned, we do currently have an employee ownership course. The different topics that we cover is what is employee ownership, why should you consider it, what are the various employee ownership structures, how can you build wealth through employee ownership, and what are the resources available to help transition to employee ownership. And if you're interested in taking this course, you can go to the website. You can, it'll show you where you can apply to sign up for this course. You do have to be a Colorado headquartered business in order to take this course. And the email will come to me, and I will give you a registration form just so we know who you are. Your information doesn't go outside of our office. It's just so if we need to follow up or you have additional questions, it just makes it more personable for us to know what businesses are accessing the content. And if you need additional resources or information, we can then connect you to our consultant. And then at the end of the registration form, you get a direct link to that content. And again, you don't have to sit all at one time it's not like it's a webinar where you have to watch it or it's live. You can watch parts of it, come back, watch more of it. So it's really kind of at your own pace. And then you can, again, connect with the consultant afterwards. We're going to show you a little video that is part of the content and just hear from our governor in regards to employee ownership. Brian's going to put that together.
Crossing our fingers.
Hi, I'm Colorado Governor Jared Polis. Employee ownership takes many different shapes here in Colorado, ranging across a full spectrum of industries. Employee ownerships can be formed by cooperatives, employee stock options, direct ownership plans, and many more ways. Employees of employer-owned companies tend to have higher wages and receive greater benefits, and there's a greater buy-in and engagement than there are in non-employee-owned businesses. Employee-owned businesses also witness increased productivity and a greater standing in the community we serve and lower turnover. An employee-owned structure benefits business owners as well as the employees. It provides owners with a ready and willing way to sell their business. It avoids the needs to pay a broker 10% or more to sell their business. It also gives business owners a more engaged workforce with less turnover and more motivation. It can also offer substantial federal and tax benefits and helps protect the legacy the business owners who created a lifetime making. Before I became governor, I created and sold several highly successful businesses that had an element of employee ownership, and I learned firsthand that when a company does well, everyone should do well. That's why as governor, I signed an executive order that created the Colorado Commission on Employee Ownership. This commission will support the development and advancement of employee-owned businesses here in Colorado. We've already taken several steps to increase employee ownership here in Colorado, but there's more work to do. There's over 300 employee-owned businesses in Colorado, and with your help, there'll be many more in the future. Thank you for your interest in employee ownership.
So on the screen is Matt Lucina, and he's our program manager. And it just kind of shows at the end how you can connect with him personally, just so he knows how to best support you as a business owner. So, just so you know what that looks like. And so our asks for you is that if you are interested or you want more information about succession planning or exit planning, to reach out to our office so that we can kind of have a more in-depth conversation, make it a little more personal, like I spoke with you, and we can connect you with the appropriate resources and consulting. And this is who we are. So Nikki Maloney is the Director of Business Support, and Matt Lucina is the Program Manager for Employee Ownership. And again, my role is just to support the educational component for all of our online programming. And again, you guys will have the ability to have these slides. We're going to email them to you so you get all of this information, so you don't need to necessarily write it down. But you'll have these links and access at your fingertips. Do you guys have any questions? Yes?
How many employees do you have to have in a business in order to consider employees?
That is,
Can you repeat the question for the video? Yeah. Or we'll bring the mic around.
thank you.
I'm sorry.
So everybody can hear.
Sure. Most of the businesses in Walsenburg are very small, maybe single owner or maybe 2 employees or something like that. And I'm wondering how many employees have to be involved in working on employee ownership of a business?
That question relates to the different types of structures, and that's why there's various types of employee ownership structures, because like an ESOP structure has a large amount of employees, so those smaller options like stock options, right. So it just, again, depends on the type of business and how many employees you have, and that's why meeting with a service provider would be able to sit down and talk with an individual one-on-one to see what type of business, how many employees, and then make those recommendations based on that.
So there's a difference. I mean, if you have one employee and you want to sell, or an employee and his wife or her husband or whatever, and the employer wants to transition over, then is there a different kind of process between that and when you have a manufacturer, for instance, where, you know, there's a bunch of different people that would buy in?
Yes, because every structure will have a different type of process and cost associated with it. Yeah.
And if you saw in the video, you can bring together a group. So let's say it's that employee that wants to do the employee ownership, but he has other friends and other individuals that want to go in with him or her to take over that business, then they can help you set that up as well. So for these smaller businesses, like you're saying, with one owner, you know, and where they're going, but if there's a group that wants to come together, that is something that we can work on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
It's been a while for me. I started a business as a partnership, converted to a C Corp, to an S Corp. I know about that stuff, but I don't understand what you're talking about with structures and how it relates to your type of business.
Yeah, so the structures I'm referring to relates to the structures of how you would sell part of your business to your employees. So it would be how they would get the profits from the business and how they would, I guess, buy those portions of the stock from you. So there's those different options.
But there's a different process.
There's a different process and different structures based on how you as a business owner want to set that up for your employees.
So she's saying you can divide it up. So there's 100%. How many pieces of the pie are you going to cut it into with these individuals? And how are you going to make that happen? So if it's one employee and then, like we said, they bring a group, how many pieces of pie are you going to allow them to have and you still want to keep? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Again, I have another question. And that is, how long does that employee have to work for the employer before they qualify as an employee so they get the tax credits and that sort of thing? Because it seems like there would be two different ways of transitioning a small business. One is to sell to someone else, keep the same name, and sell to another person or group of people. And then the other way is to take them on as employees for a certain amount of time, which I don't know how long that time would be, and then say, okay, I'm going to get the tax credit from selling to my employees, and then I'm going to transition out. It's sort of a flow out. Is that something? Am I asking a good question?
You're asking a really good question, and that's why we would want to hook you up with our service providers, that would meet with you, talk about those very specific things, and then make those recommendations, because they are the experts. Yeah. And they'll be able to lay out all your options. They'll be able to tell you your costs associated with them, how long you want that process to be set up, what kind of that piece of the pie you want to give, and that's what their expertise lies in. So attorneys there's attorneys, CPAs.
That's the OEDIT office.
Yes, we would be able to support you with that, yes.
Any other questions? Just a fun fact, we did find out 80% of small businesses are owned by baby boomers. So if you figure out 99.5% of businesses in Colorado are small businesses and 80% are baby boomers entering retirement in the next 10 years, that's kind of scary. What do you think about that? So that's why we're coming up with these programs. And what it sounds like, I've only seen the same presentation and spoken with them a little bit, but what it sounds like is it's a program that we can make work for you and each of your unique situations. So they will work with you. That's why we say reach out, ask questions, and we'll help any way we can. Okay?
I just want to add one thing. I had the privilege last week to tour a few of these employee-owned businesses. One was a very large manufacturing company. The other was a very small Main Street type of craft store. So again, the limitations aren't on the industry. It's on what the business owner really wants it to look like. So it was a really great experience to meet the business owners, to meet the employees, and really see and hear from them firsthand just their experience and what it's like for them now. Yes?
One more question. Again, I can talk really loudly. I really don't need the microphone. But Walsenburg has a lot of these businesses that have been, people who have been in business for 40 years, whatever. Is it possible to, I guess, what I'm talking about, or what I'm thinking about is business development-wise, what we need is marketing for these businesses and say, you know, come to Walsenburg and there's an opening for a dry cleaner business. There's an opening for, you know, would you like to invest in a small town and in this community? Who can we go to as economic development wise to say, we'd like to do a tour. We'd like to grab people and do a tour so that you can come and see this lovely little community and find a business that fits you and invest. Again, that's not employee ownership, but employee ownership is a way of getting in there, because you have to learn a community before you can do business in a community. You have to learn the ethos of the community. And so who could help us with that?
That would not be something the OEDIT office would do. They can help support those structures and things like that, but that would come more from your economic development office, you know, such as Carleton or Southern Colorado Economic Development, you know, and those organizations. They can help set those tours up and things like that, you know, with that process. But again, that's a process. So, but they would be the ones who could help you out with that.
Oh no, I was just saying she is right on the nose.
She is. We've, you know, and people got to learn a little bit more, but that's what your economic development individuals need to do for your business, if they can, you know, but there are resources to help.
I was going to mention, I'm from Dallas, Texas, and Walsenburg is in an economic opportunity zone. And if you Google Colorado Economic Opportunity Zone, there's a pretty nice presentation. But investors nationwide, and there's funds that solely invest in opportunity zones, and they get significant tax benefits. So I purchased the Mazone Hall. We probably met. And so that was primarily because it was in an opportunity zone. And so all of the money that I'm putting into it is tax deferred. So why did I choose Walsenburg? Well, just kind of by chance, but it's a federal program, and it's Walsenburg has significant, probably your building is eligible. So if you market it to, I know you're not necessarily just in the real estate business, but they offer significant tax credits for creating a business or also selling a business.
Yeah.
So I would look into that.
Well, I don't want to talk about other people's business in particular, but I know that just along Main Street, there is a clothing store, there is a restaurant, there is a abstract company. All of these companies have people who want to retire now, and they are thriving businesses. I mean, two of them are thriving businesses. One is sort of going down the drain because there's a need for an exit plan. But these are businesses that are thriving that could really benefit from that. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to talk to the city manager tomorrow about how they're tracking opportunity zone investments in Walsenburg, or whether they're, I mean, it's a federal program, but they should, because most of Main Street is in the opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
So
How about letting the residents of Walsenburg know in case somebody is
Right.
entrepreneurial and interested?
Yeah.
I'm going to have to stop this conversation for after so that we can move on, so we can stay on track. But you are all right. But the OEDIT office can help you with those opportunity zones and that program. We do have program managers that can give you more information about that as well. Okay, so we're going to let that go, and then we're going to let Marisela go next to talk about the new program, the Small Business Accelerated Growth Program that is happening now.
Okay, I wanted to talk about this program, but first I wanted to go a little bit of an initial program that we are doing for a year and a half ago, and we have already more than 1,500 businesses. It is our Business Foundation program. This program was created for those startups or those people that want to start their business or have an idea of business, and they wanted to learn how to create it legally in the state, how they can create their accounting system, the very basic step for the accounting system, and their digital steps that they needed to promote their business online. This program was created for the Minority Business Office, but it's online and is absolutely for free. What you can do is, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah, what you do is you go online and you go for a small registration, some questions that we ask, what is the status of your business? But again, if it's just an idea, you can also apply for this. So there you will be registered and you will go to 3 pathways that we call. The legal pathway, which is going with different videos, is going to tell you step by step what you need to do to register your business in the state, in the local level, in the cities, and we bring you to the different websites where you can get your tax licenses or the local licenses that you needed at your city level or your county level. The second pathway, it is the accounting pathway, when we're teaching you the very basics, how to do a balance, how to do a budget for your business, and a cash flow. It's very simple. You go step by step and you can develop each of these documents in there. Then the third pathway, it is the digital pathway where we're teaching you how to create your website, how to do your media, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, in the very basic way. If you are able to finish all these 3 pathways and show the documents that you are having at the end of this pathway, you will be able to apply for a small grant of $1,200 where you can buy it is a reimbursable grant. If you buy your accounting system, we can reimburse that money for you. If you want to buy your QuickBooks, your subscription online, we can return that money for you. If you want to improve your website for your business with that, we also can pay part of your website development with that reimbursable grant. So we have right now a consultant that is with office hours every week, twice a week in our website, so you can ask questions online to guide through this program, guide you and how you can go step by step for this pathway. So this is the Business Foundation program. If you go and you put it in Google, Business Foundation Program, Colorado, you are going to get to the website and all the information. And also there's this Natalia Antesana, which is our consultant that speaks English and Spanish, explaining and helping you to go through this pathway and this program.
What's the website for business?
Business Foundation. Business Foundation Colorado, and you are going to find the website at the OEDIT office website and explain everything for that. The next, also I wanted to explain that if you have problems to do these programs online, our Colorado Denver SBDC, the Small Business Development Center, is doing these classes online directly with you. The same things that we have online with the system and videos. They do classes, and they're going to have classes now in April for people to subscribe for Zoom video and live online. The same programs. Okay, now this is the Small Business Accelerated Growth Program. This is a program designed for businesses that has at least 1 year in the market, so have been in business for 1 year, and has at least 19 employees. What we are trying to do with this is we created different programs to train people in different areas, what they needed, so they can still growing their business after they have been created. So we have been in 3 areas: access to capital, market research, and digital marketing. I'm going to explain each of these programs. The first one is the access to capital course. We are currently and we will continue doing applications for this program. Is teaching you during six weeks approximately, with some content online 1 week, and then with consultation with one consultant one-on-one with you to learn how you need to prepare your papers to ask for a loan. So they will go with your accounting, how you're doing your numbers in there, and learn your numbers, and they will teach you how you put your papers in roll to apply for different programs that we have several throughout the state, loan programs for small businesses. This is the content that we have in this program. I don't know if you wanted to go in.
So the topics are going to cover, like, how do you identify your capital need? Why do you need a loan? And what do you want to do with that? So it just helps you identify that. So if you, say, have a landscaping business and you want to expand during the seasonality, how are you going to identify you doing that? And how are you going to then communicate that to a lender? That's how you want to expand your business. So that will help you identify what your need is for the loan. And then what are the different funding sources that are available to you? So we go into some detail in regards to what types of loans are available. And then we're going to introduce you to what types of financial documents do you need to apply for a loan? What do they look like? How do I obtain those for my business? And what are the specific things the lender's looking for in your financial documents? So it will just really help you identify those things so that you feel more empowered in the process of applying for a loan. The second module is just really interpreting those financial documents. What is a ratio analysis? Why does the bank want to know that? It's like that debt to your debt and equity. What does that mean? And how do I identify that into my business? Your 5 key ratios, these are things that lenders do look for, and what are they and why do they look for them? The third module is looking at improving your financial health of your business. How do I go about doing that? Maybe I'm not ready right now, but what do I need to do to get ready? And they're going to help you through that process. And identifying what lenders are looking for in those financial documents with a little bit more detail. And then the last module is, what do I do if I'm not eligible for the loan? What if I go through the process and the lender says that I'm not eligible? What do I do now? What are some of the things that I can do to change that so I can later go and reapply for the loan? In each one of these aspects, the modules will have a follow-up with a cohort of consulting sessions, so you will be in a group with other businesses and meet with a consultant for 1 hour between each of these modules to really look at what does that mean for me. And so by the end, we want you to be prepared for whatever that next step is, whether it be I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to prepare for a loan, or I'm ready to apply for a loan. And that consultant will help you locate an appropriate lender according to what you're identified in the training.
So the details for this program is that it is by application. The access to capital will be opening again in English and Spanish in April. So you need to make an application for it, because the format that we're doing right now is the program, and those that qualify and finish the whole training at the end can have a $5,000 grant to invest in their business. So we are going to do this a couple more times during this year, and you can have access to this program. The other aspect that we are trying to reinforce for businesses that are 1 year in the market is the market research course. This is an 8 weeks course where you will be learning how you can identify for your product the business, the clients where you can sell your products. in what area, how do you can go in different places, and how you can find your right area. We have a database, and consultants are going to help you to teach, looking for that area where your product is more appropriate and where you can sell them. So this program is currently in place. We are going to open applications again probably in April. And this is a one-on-one consulting. It's the same modality. We go for each of these modules learning online, and then every participant meets with a consultant and talking and working specifically for their own program in each of these topics.
Is this a program that was just closed or?
This one is running right now, but we are going to open applications again in April. So yeah, people can help. And for this one, after people that finish the whole program training, they can access a grant of $8,000 also for to invest in their market research plan that they are doing through the program. And our last area that we are enforcing is the digital marketing course. This is one that is, applications are open right now. So we open it on February 13. We are going to close next week on the 28th. This is a course that's going to be 8 weeks. So you will be going to each of these topics, learning how to manage your social media, how to manage your website, and creating e-commerce, how you can do and sell online. Each of these topics is 2 weeks learning online by yourself, and then you have one session with your consultant in a group of people and sharing your experience and learning about that and putting a marketing plan together with them. The whole course is going to be 9 weeks. Again, this is open right now and it's going to close on the 28th of February. You can make applications online. The course is going to be in English and Spanish, and it lasts for 9 weeks. It's going to have a second cohort probably in May, but we are currently open and you can do applications right away. Finishing, for those that finish the course, can apply for a grant with their plan, their digital marketing plan, and to get a $5,000 grant at the end to implement their plan. So this is the 3 areas that we are supporting right now for, again, for businesses that have at least 1 year in the market and less than 19 employees. So if you have additional questions, the total of the program is called Accelerated Growth Program with the Office of Economic Development International Trade. These 3 programs are being developed for 3 different small business development centers, but because they are online, they are doing it throughout the whole state, so everyone can apply.
And you can apply for all 3 programs as well. So
yes.
It doesn't, if you just apply for one, doesn't mean that you can't apply for the others as well. So if you want to know about all 3, you have the ability to apply for all 3 different programs.
This is what we finished, yeah. This is for the future. We are currently working at OEDIT to implement 5 different programs. We are going to help businesses, hopefully starting in April or May, where we are going to extend these programs like the access to capital, how we are going to help people to get loans and how they can make these applications. We are going to extend that program for people who want to apply to the Climber Fund, to the Cash Collateral Support, to the Venture Capital Fund, or any other local or state or federal loan program. We will be offering technical assistance one-on-one in the future, so you will be able to access to any of these loan programs with our support. And I don't know if the additional questions or anything about these programs. No? Okay, so.
Are you the guy, the ones who will look over the applications and decide? I'd like to talk to you later.
A group of people we will be scoring, throughout.
And there's 5 of us that look over because there's like 3,500.
Next coming up is tax credits. Let me switch this video here.
Okay, this is a lot of text on the screen. So for those of you in the room, just wanted to let you know that all of the slideshows and the contacts that we're presenting today, we're putting them all together into a slide deck as well that we'll send out to everybody. So you don't have to worry about writing down all the links, all the contact info, those types of things. So let's talk tax credits and incentives. I know we had brought up opportunity zones earlier, but I'm actually going to start with enterprise zones. This tends to be probably the most accessible tax credit program in the state for small businesses. The enterprise zone program was really set up to help small businesses, I'm getting a little feedback there, help small businesses in economically disadvantaged areas. So it's, high unemployment, low per capita income, slow population growth. Huerfano County is not just an enterprise zone, it's an enhanced enterprise zone. So it's actually like a plus up on some of the tax credits that you get. The Office of Economic Development and International Trade oversees the blanket enterprise zone program, but you have a local enterprise zone manager at the South Central Council of Governments. So bonus is, that is Lorraine King. Unfortunately, Lorraine and Jennifer couldn't be here tonight. They are the local experts. They're really going to be the ones who can really, again, talk you through kind of one-on-one on whether your business qualifies and what might be the best tax credits for you. But I'm going to highlight a couple of them tonight. So essentially, as a business, sorry, I'm going to back up one slide here. As a business, you can basically go online to the links on the page here and just double check to make sure, well, if you're in Huerfano County, you are in an enterprise zone. And there are a couple of steps that you'll need to take to pre-qualify, so I'll go to those at the end. But let's go through the tax credits first. So new employee tax credit, that is the one in small communities that we usually see the most used, basically up to $1,100 or more per net new employee. Enhanced enterprise zones do get a little bit more. And this is a state income tax credit for the employer for each net new employee. All of these things have different calculations, so this is where a lot of times we'll say if you do have an accountant, it's great to work with your accountant with this. If not, work with your enterprise zone administrator to help them figure out. Because it's basically how many employees do you have at the beginning of the year versus the end of the year. If you've added employees, then you might be eligible for this tax credit. Same thing goes for job training. If you're providing job training for your employees that is specific to them, that's another thing that as a business, you might be able to get 12% of the eligible training costs back at the end of the year. Same thing for health insurance. I know in most of our small counties, and having been a small business owner myself, most of us under 50 employees don't have to provide health care, but if that's something that you do, might be another way to get a little bit back. This is always a fun one, the commercial vehicle investment tax credit. Again, it's a small amount of the purchase price, but just make sure, again, all of these things have end of year tax impacts for you as well, that it is a commercial truck or tractor or semi-trailer. It's probably not going to be your car that you're using to, just run general deliveries. It has to be used for the business 100% of the time. If you are making investments, right? So say you have bought a new property or are renovating a property or you're investing in a large piece of machinery, there's a 3% tax credit that could be gained on that. And then this is something that actually came up when we were talking to a lot of your service providers earlier in the month, is this vacant commercial building rehabilitation. So if you do have vacant buildings, this might be a way at a community level, again, talking to your economic developers to say, hey, we have this opportunity. We might have an investor. We might have somebody interested who's renovating this. Utilize Opportunity Zone and potentially definitely make them aware of this. Because this is one of the larger ones. Basically 25% of rehabilitation costs, so credits and costs, they do have a couple of limits, but it does help offset some of those costs at the end of the year. Research and development, we don't really see a ton of that used in rural communities, but again, if you are doing something that is innovative, I know, for example, in, I'm blanking now, Dolores County. They have this really amazing orchard, and they actually got an advanced industry grant. But their tax credit that year that they worked on was for the development of this new liner for the cans that they serve their cider in. So, you know, it doesn't always have to be this like massive research project. It might just be something that is helping to refine if you're making a product. And then manufacturing and mining. So if you do qualify as a manufacturer, and this is something that hopefully the South Central COG or potentially Manufacturers Edge, who we talked with before, this is based on your NAICS code, the National Association of Industry Standards. I'm blanking on the acronym right now, but it's basically the code that identifies what industry cluster you go into, sort of at a federal level. If you qualify as a manufacturing piece, this is to expand your equipment purchases. And then last but not least, this is sort of more on a community level versus a business level, but if you as a business owner contribute to an enterprise zone contribution project, these are qualified projects that help drive economic development. So Huerfano County Economic Development actually has a contribution project that you could make. You know, say you donate $250 or in-kind services where maybe you cater an event for free, you can actually get a tax credit on that as well because it is a qualified project. In the broader, oh, look at that. That was a duplicate slide, I'm sorry. So again, in the slide deck that you're getting, you'll see all of the regional active contribution projects. And this is for individual taxpayers as well. So it's kind of a cool way for people to kind of drive maybe a major capital campaign or a major project that's really going to make a difference in the community. And there are different ways to get those qualified as well. So again, working with Lorraine over at the South Central COG, she's really going to be your best person there. So I talked about, you know, pre-qualifying. Unfortunately, this is one of those times that we make you go online and set up an account in our OEDIT application portal, which always takes time. But once you're in the system, you're in, and we're not going to make you do it again. But you fill out a pre-certification. You do need to pre-certify each year. So again, this is something you can do it as a startup. You can do it in maintenance phase, growth phase, even as you're getting ready to sell. One of the cool things is with a lot of these tax credits, even a buyer of a new business can actually, you know, starting from the sale of the business, qualify for tax credits as well. And then basically the rest of it, you just kind of go through the certification process. But Lorraine is really going to be the one who can walk you through that step by step, but it is going to require you. We wish we could just have it super high touch, right on the ground locally, but we do need to track this stuff at the state level. So that's the enterprise zone stuff. We do have a couple of other tax credits and incentives. So for those businesses that are kind of in that idea or startup stage, the Rural Jumpstart Grant and Incentive Program is a really cool one. So there are a couple of pre-qualifications for this. Huerfano County does participate in the Rural Jumpstart. Again, it's an economically distressed designation. We always joke that we need to have a zone training because we have opportunity zones, enterprise zones, jumpstart zones, hub zones. So Jumpstart, what it does is for a business that is starting up, it provides some tax credits at the end of the year, but upfront and throughout the year, there's an opportunity for startup grants as well as new employee grants. It's one of the few programs that basically allows for a business to start and have some grant funding to help them get going. The caveat is that it does need to be a business that does not compete with any other businesses in that economically distressed county. So, you know, it's not like you're going to apply for a Rural Jumpstart grant to compete with the t-shirt company down the street. This is really meant to drive economic diversification and support of novel ideas. You know, a couple of the ones that I've seen come through recently was a, you know, clothing manufacturer in Gunnison, but who only designs like women's specific outdoor recreation clothing. So she wasn't competing with any of the other manufacturers. So you can really kind of drill yourself down quite a bit. Going back into the enterprise zone tax credit that I talked about earlier for vacant buildings, a lot of times you can stack these things. If that vacant building is also over 20 years old, you might qualify for the commercial historic preservation tax credit. Caveat here, you have to work with History Colorado. They're wonderful partners, but it does kind of, I know a lot of rural property owners, you know, sometimes we're good with some of the restrictions that we need with the historic preservation project, and sometimes we're not. So again, it's sort of a choice. You always have to kind of pick and choose to see what works for you. We also have tax credits for advanced industries. This is a group of 7 different industries like bioscience, renewable energy, green tech, really a little bit more on that tech side. But they also have tax credits. And then, as Danella pointed out earlier, there's a tax credit for employee ownership. Incentives are things that are essentially promised upfront to basically remove the price of starting or moving a business to the state of Colorado. So locally, a lot of these are going to come into play if you have a new business that, say, wants to move into Huerfano County, but they're also looking at moving to somewhere in Kansas, right? They could come to the state and work through a process and say, hey, we want some special incentives to convince us to move to Colorado and to move to this community, but, we've got some competition going on here. This does also require your county to play, so this is where Carl becomes a huge contact for you, and Carlton at Huerfano County Economic Development, to ensure that if the state puts up some incentives, that the local community is matching those as well. So that's what a lot of those other ones come up with. And then we have specific incentives in specific industries. We all know in Colorado that we have a major housing issue right now. So to drive kind of innovation in kind of manufactured modular housing, a lot of those new things that are coming out that are allowing things to be produced more quickly and more efficiently and hopefully at more accessible prices. Late last year, OEDIT launched an innovative housing incentive programs for those manufacturers. So I think last time we were here, we were talking about Fading West development. I think, do they have a project? Nope, sorry, that was on a meeting I was on yesterday. That's in southeastern Colorado. But if any of you are familiar with Fading West in Salida, they would be the type of company that would be eligible for this. So, again, if you as a community are working with housing developers and they tend to have an innovative housing program, maybe let them know about this. If you have film production happening in your county or a commercial shoot, that producer is eligible for an incentive, and it's a plus up if it's actually a Colorado-made production as well. So you can have Hollywood coming in, or like Toyota coming in from overseas and shooting a commercial, or you can have something locally produced, but that would be available too. Last but not least, if there is a new event being planned in the community, this is a short-term one, this is coming out of COVID funding, that there is for meeting and events planners, say there's a large conference that's coming to town that maybe wouldn't come if they didn't get, maybe a little bit of cash back or I think it's like 10% of eligible event costs. That program, I believe, is open through the end of the year for events going through June 30th of 2024, but there is an events incentive for that as well. And that is it on my part. I'll open it up to questions, but also happy to talk about, I know earlier when we were going through the different growth phases, some of the other divisions at OEDIT, like I said, our rural office kind of works with all of them. Some of them are industry specific, some of them are small business specific. So happy to answer any questions about those that you have as well. I will answer one question from earlier, though, when the Opportunity Zone piece had been brought up on how you can track Opportunity Zone investments. It's really tricky. The IRS doesn't let us have that information because this is basically capital gains that is being reported on an individual's tax returns. So unless it's actually like a certified fund that is making the investment, that we can track. So like a 4 Points funding up in the Steamboat area that does a lot of these larger rural projects. But those individual ones are really, really tricky for us to pin down, and it's just information that we don't have access to. One of the other things that I've heard a lot about, especially in leveraging opportunity zones in rural, it's so cool to have someone in the room that's done it on their own, is that it's hard to access those larger funds and investors for a smaller rural project. One of the novel things you can do, though, is you can set up a local opportunity zone fund. Delta County has done this recently. So they're actually bringing local investors together. They've created their own fund, and they're reinvesting it in opportunity zone projects within the county. So another way to think about it.
Any questions? Okay. All right. Well, I've talked to several of you about the Small Business Development Center. All right, just to let you know, we are located in Pueblo. We are available for resources and consulting to help you as you need. We do almost everything virtually now. So reach out to us because we focus on 3 main goals. First one is free, no-cost consultations and counseling. Second is education, and most of those are virtual webinars. There are some that we do in person, and then again, we do hybrid now. So you can come to the Southern Colorado SBDC and we'll help you. And then the third thing is, we are your resource connector. Okay, so you call us and then we will find it for you. If I don't know where it is, I have a whole network and team that I can call and ask, and then we will find that person for you. Okay, because we are not experts on every subject. We need to find the subject matter expert for you. All right, so that's all I'm going to say about the SBDC right now because I've given several presentations. But when everybody else comes in the room, I am going to talk just briefly about 3 minutes on Community Navigator because it is a program that you all should use and benefit from before these funds are gone at the end of October. Okay, so we'll do a little chat about that. Did any of you have any questions about the capital stacking example that Mark can answer for you while we're here? Any of those? Okay, well, we're going to give you a minute to go on a break, go to the bathroom, and we're going to check the other room, and then we're going to bring them on over. Okay?